What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
What kind of ignorant shit is that?
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
You idiot, you fool!
Hey, dummy!
This is the Ignorance is Blessed podcast.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Hey, idiots! I'm back. I'm here with my amazing, hilarious friend, Aidan Park. Thank you for joining me, Aidan.
Yay! Can I talk? I don't
Yeah, no, jump in. I don't do like I'll do a long intro that I add to the front, but I should have told you that. But yeah, so you guys, I've already probably said this in the intro, but hilarious comedian. That's how I knew you initially, but like speaker, now an author, you're a wellness, happiness guru, coach person.
Oh, please do not call me a guru. I don't want that
You're like,
title.
too much pressure. Okay. I feel you on that. Wow. Well, first of all, just how are you doing? You have this new book out, The Art of Being Yay. What? That's
Y'all.
exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm really, really excited about it. I'm really happy about it. I'm yay about it.
I love it.
It took me like a year and a half to get it together. So it was
Honestly, that seems like a short amount of time to me.
Really?
That's
I had
impressive
an
to me.
entire draft, like completed. I was all ready to go. It was complete about 6 months in, and I just read it, and I was like, this isn't right. So scrap, start all over.
It's really hard. I think we're like all our worst critics, and then especially something I imagine that's, sort of self-help or anything like that based. You're going to come at it with this super critical eye. At least I'm probably projecting, but
Well,
I
yeah.
always want to do stuff like that. But then there's that voice of like, come on, who are you? Like, what do you know?
Yeah, that's a struggle. That's like, I deal with that all the time.
I mean, yeah, it's human nature. But I'll say you are one of the most joyful people I've ever met. Like,
Oh, yay! Oh, that's good.
yeah. So I mean, when you started telling me about this book and how you're sort of going this direction, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, you are able to bring this energy into every room I've ever been in with you, where you're like, all right, come on, guys, let's bring up the energy. Let's have fun, which, isn't always easy. And I think we all go through moments where we're not feeling super yay, like
Yeah.
woohoo, but your ability to, it seems like regardless of how you may be feeling or what you're dealing with, kind of just inspire everyone around you is very impressive.
Oh, thanks. I mean, like, it's actually a product of a decision,
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so like, because I'm like, I have this joke, because I'm tall and I smile a lot, I think a lot of people think, like, oh, like he must have had everything growing up, and he was
Life's
ready
been,
for milk and love,
yeah.
They think I was born to a couple of dentists in Orange County, you know what I'm saying?
That's so funny. Like, just because you're happy, they're like, he must have never had, which is a thing I think we do. If someone's not carrying all their sadness right on their face and in their mood, you're like, oh, I guess your life was perfect. But
Yeah, and they think that people like just assume, and that's actually not what happened. And actually, the positive attitude or the optimism or whatever I carry is, I think, has a lot to do with the position that I know I must take in order to get anywhere. Like, if
wow.
that's kind of what I kind of gathered,
Okay, so it's like, at some point, you made it almost like a choice of, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to work on to be able to bring positive energy with me where I go? Where it's like,
Well, I was like really up against the wall. I mean, like, just the short of it, how I started this whole thing was, I don't know, you might not even know this actually.
well, let's tell the listeners either way. I know a little bit about like your life and some of the things you've been through, but let's talk about it.
So like the truncated version is, I moved here when I was 9 with my mom, right? and she was a single mother, and she took a job across the country, and so I was left with my grandmother in her government housing, right?
Oh, gosh.
And so I wasn't really allowed to be there, so I had to be quiet.
No.
I know. I think that's why I'm so loud now, to make up time.
Like from all the, I mean, that's a real thing that I think, especially a lot of big personalities, and I think comedians especially, I never thought of it, but you saying that, it's like, for me, I feel like the way I am, a lot of it is, as a child, it was like, I had to like tuck it in, like, shh, keep it in, tuck it, like, don't be so big and loud, and wow.
Yeah. It's like a resistant, it's hard for me. Like, I mean, I was always like, kind of like, rah, as a kid. But it was interesting because in Korea, I had the power of language. And so with language, like I was, I had a lot of friends. I was like, I got like really good grades. I was considered like a smart kid.
Yeah.
And then I move here and my mom goes and the language goes and the schooling goes and friends go. And so it was like,
so much.
What do you do with that?
Yeah, that can be very isolating, I'm sure.
Oh, it was awful. It was, and around the time I was hitting puberty too, and it was like
worse. Like, that's not awkward enough without you being like, and I have no one to talk to about this.
Yeah, and I'm gay, right? And so like, and my family has been showing me, okay, those Baptist movies where everybody gets like raptured and then you get left behind.
No.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I mean, yeah, I never watched them, but I'm aware of, like, yes, the very do the right thing or you won't be taken with the herd.
Like,
so to
our
speak.
apartment in Korea was like the place that they would bring like recruits for our Baptist church to make them sit down and watch a movie called A Thief in the Night.
Oh my God.
Do you know about it?
I don't know about A Thief in the Night. What is A Thief in the Night? Tell me. Fill me
A
in.
Thief. I'm so happy I could tell you.
I'm dying. I'm like, what is this propaganda?
A Thief in the Night is a movie. It's a Christian movie, and so oh my God, I know it like the back of my hand. So like, there are these girls who are at the carnival or whatever, and somebody was like, oh, you should come meet Jesus. And so one of the girls is like, I think I'm gonna go back and talk, learn about Jesus. And so she that day accepts Jesus into her heart. The other two do not.
They're like, we're gonna go on the tilt-a-whirl.
Yeah, we're gonna go. Right. She's like, oh, we don't care. We're gonna have fun.
Oh my God.
And one of the girls, her grandmother, like her entire family, accepted Jesus, and her husband almost like passes away because he gets a snake bite and he almost dies or whatever.
Oh my God.
And one day she wakes up, her husband gone, her grandma gone, her friend gone, anybody who's important to her gone.
They've all been raptured.
Disappeared, like into thin air. And then they're like, okay, so in order to prevent this from happening again, the UN, this was made in the 70s where everybody's afraid of the UN, was like,
oh my God.
No, that's what happened. And you must get the mark of like a barcode on your hand or your forehead, so they could track you. And that is the mark of the devil that according to the Bible guarantees your entrance to hell.
To hell, the mark of the beast, like the.
Yeah.
Wait,
So
was this a real thing, barcoding people, or was this just in the movie?
It was in the movie, but that's what they're saying. That's what's predicted in the Bible, or not barcode, but like
some type of. I mean, they're trying to microchip people now.
Yeah.
And I think that it's easy. It's just one person could look at it and go like, "What a cool advancement in technology that I'll have everything I need right here."
Yeah.
And then other people could I just go, the government's trying to keep tabs on me. But then Christians and people who really believe that stuff are probably like, oh my God, it's happening.
It is. I mean, like, and the thing is, like, in the movie, it gets to a point where it's like, if you don't have the barcode, then they will not serve you at restaurants. They will not. You can't shop.
Oh my God.
You can't. And then they start hunting you down because you're, and so
like a fugitive, like you're
rogue. So she's a fugitive.
Oh my God.
And all her friends are like, you should just get the mark. And so they like try to turn her in. And it's very scary for a 7-year-old.
Oh my God.
Like,
That's so terrifying.
And it was so funny. They were showing them this movie to like, new recruits of the Baptists, and they were just letting me sit there. They were like, oh, you can watch this, sure.
Yeah,
I'm
it'll
like,
be good for you. You're like, this won't traumatize your brain.
well, there's a sequel, and at the end of that one, people get guillotined. So,
What?
yeah, if you don't, like, they sit you down, and they're like, if you don't accept the mark, we have to guillotine you. So they like watch people get guillotined.
Jeez.
And so that's the kind of stable environment that I grew up in.
All right, good. Let me ask you this. Do you still consider yourself a Christian?
Not in the traditional sense. Definitely not Baptist.
Okay, not in the structurally. I think that's important because I think that, for better or worse, there's sort of this media idea, and depending on the media you're consuming, of what a Christian is, and it's there can be these like negative connotations because of like the structural church or these extreme groups, and it's a bummer to me that any extreme group of any religion could taint. If someone's like, yeah, no, I like think Jesus was a good guy and a good example, if that's what you mean. I'm not trying to guillotine my kids.
It's really funny that you say this. I don't know if you can leave this on the cutting room floor if the story gets too boring, but like technically I did accept Jesus in my heart, but only because it's okay. Like, so it was a kind of a technicality.
Yeah. You're like, I was afraid. I was like, no, I'm with you guys.
Well, I mean, look, no, not like that. Like,
really?
I mean, like an adult.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it happened like this year. So
this year? Ooh.
Yeah, so it was very strange the way it happened.
Oh, really? Tell me.
I was like in a position where, oh my God, I'm gonna sound so crazy, but whatever. So I've been kind of, spiritual work. Because I've been studying the art of being yay. Okay, so how do I frame this so that it makes sense to your listeners?
Yes,
basically,
tell us about being yay. What does that
mean?
Okay,
so essentially, how this all got started is, I'm just gonna go back to where I graduated from, like high school. Yeah. So when I graduated from high school, I got into a bunch of colleges. Couldn't go to college because I was still undocumented, and I found out that I couldn't at that time.
Like, you had no idea, and then you're like, wait, this isn't even enough. Why would you who let you spend money on college applications?
We didn't think it would, my mom apparently didn't think it would be a problem. And I didn't know that would be a requirement.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's devastating.
Devastating. I got into some great schools. I studied really hard, and can't go to college. Okay, and then I try to get a job. Guess what? Can't get a job.
Oh my God.
And so, and I also didn't have the greatest parenting because I was raised by my single grandmother who doesn't really speak English and was at the casino a lot. She loved me very much, but very traditionally Korean.
Yeah, Korean grandmas love their casinos. They love their ajumma pants, and they love their casinos. There
was never like are you doing okay? It was more like, here, I cooked.
Yeah, this is that like surface level. It's a cultural connection thing where it's like, I cooked. Yeah. Are your grades good? All right, so you're not suffering. You have good grades. Cool.
Yeah, she loves me. She loves me to tears, but just very.
That's just culturally, you don't get into these deep conversations.
And she was a victim of domestic violence for all her life.
That's so sad.
I saw that final confrontation go down between grandma and grandpa. Because she would be beaten. I'm in Korea, and in the United States, she told him, she was like, "You're not gonna, don't hit me here. This is not Korea." And one time, he went for her hair, and she grabbed a hairdryer and bopped him over the head so hard.
Oh my God!
Blue head. And I thought it was funny.
I'm so fucked up from my own abuse that I'm laughing at this, and I'm sorry that it's just like,
we're comedians,
I know we have to laugh at the dark shit, but like, you saw that? That's hard to. I mean, that's hard.
Yeah, it was like, okay, like, and yeah, it was very it wasn't easy. So
Absolutely not.
so there was no real parenting happening. So of course I acted out and went crazy. And I actually was a Craigslist erotic services provider for a minute there because I needed a job.
And you had no, yeah, I mean, you couldn't get gainful employment, so you had to get creative, so to speak.
I'm sure there were other options, but at the time I was like, well, fuck it. I'm fucking these guys for free anyway, so I'll just do it.
I mean, I've often had that thought of like, I mean, I fuck so many people anyway. What's wrong with fucking and getting some money?
I don't really think from where I was, like, I don't really think, like, I think the guys that I was getting who were paying me were the same kind of guys I was getting who weren't paying me.
Yeah, so it's like, you're like, I would fuck this guy anyway. And it's like, I'm all about positive sex work as long as people are safe anyway. So, I mean.
Yeah.
So
but I wasn't safe, so I got HIV. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then that's when that all happened. And I'm going really quickly because, you know, it can go on, whatever. But 19 years old, HIV positive, undocumented, jobless. What do I do? And
you're probably like, I'm so fucked. Yeah.
I'm so like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
It was at that point, my friend was like, Aidan, you should go to this empowerment seminar. I will pay for it. You can just go. Because she saw, like, I was, like, up against the wall.
Well, I mean, that's what a gift that, like, you had a friend who saw that, but then was in a position to try to help in that sort of way.
Well, she and I were, we were singers together, you know, we did, like, theater.
Yay.
And, yeah, and she is this wonderful singer, and when I told her about all this, she had really strong, because she was paying for, like, you know, $100 an hour lessons to her voice teacher.
Yeah.
You know, and her parents were supporting her, and you know, she was 18, so of course.
Yeah.
But she had a really hard time. She was like, here's this person. And so she kind of brought me into that world, and kind of tried to include me there so that I would have, you know, some opportunities, you know?
Wow, that's amazing. So what was this, like, seminar you went to?
It was called the Liberty Experience, which is, do you know what Landmark is? Landmark Forum?
I've heard of it, but I honestly have no clue what it really is.
It's like self-empowerment. It's like,
similar to like a Tony Robbins adjacent type of.
Kind of, yeah, a little bit.
Like you can find the power within yourself type of.
It's motivation? Not like, I think that it wasn't so rah-rah cheerleader, but it was more matter of fact. It was more like, if this is what your life looks like, really no one's going to take any responsibility for it other than you. And so really the only option you really have if you want to get anywhere is to own all of it and accept responsibility for all of it, even though it may or may not be your fault, so that you can then affect change in your future. That's kind of the messaging.
Okay.
And then also, you know, I learned about like emotional tone scale, where like, you know, what your emotions represent your attitude. Like, if you're feeling sad, it means that your attitude is generally that of, you know, whatever. I mean, I have it here somewhere.
Well, I like that, the like radical acceptance kind of thing of like,
yeah,
this is where you fucking are. You need to be like, yep, my life is a pile of shit right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do I go from there? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was sort of your like first foray into just sort of looking at your life and how to make changes or how to.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, like, and that's where I realized like, okay, like hope and optimism, super important, because that is where I learned like, okay, like I got a sense of hope and optimism from that seminar. And like, more than anything that I learned there, I think that was the biggest takeaway, because I got a little bit of that. And I realized like how crucial that is to being alive.
Surviving, yeah, being alive. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go to this seminar, you look at your life. What happens next? Like I want to know where did your path take you?
Okay, so that voice teacher that my friend introduced me to also he wanted to support me in my journey, so he gave me a bunch of scholarship classes for his vocal studio.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's this great Italian opera singer who's unfortunately now gone, but his name's
Oh.
Richard Nicole. He played Jean Valjean on Broadway, in Les Mis.
Oh my God, amazing.
Amazing guy, amazing, very, very funny guy, very quirky. Like he would literally be like, "Oh, do you have a butt plug, Aidan?" And this was not him hitting on me. He'd be like, "Do you have a butt plug, Aidan?" I'm like, "No." He'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's a really good way to see if your butt will suck that in as you're compressing your butt to belly to create a diaphragm, like a trumpet sound. So I would recommend, if you don't have that, just use a pencil."
So he's like telling you to put stuff in your butt because like if your butt's not sucking it in, you're not using your diaphragm correctly.
Right.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and like my voice actually became like really like that technique.
You're like,
worked.
it worked. Yeah, it's so funny because it's like an unorthodox thing that I think some people would go, "Can you believe that this music teacher said this to me?" And then it's like, yeah, okay, well, do you want to be great or not?
Yeah, but it worked. It worked.
Yeah, you need your asshole to do some work if you want to be a star, bitch. Like,
That's right.
Oh,
So I did that, and then I got lucky with I went to a couple dance classes, and the place where I went to dance, San Francisco Dance Center, had a work exchange program.
oh, great.
And so I cleaned, their bathrooms and the toilets for dance classes. So I was taking like 6 dance classes a week. I was getting free voice lessons, and picking up acting stuff here and there, and doing like whatever theater didn't require me to have a visa.
That was probably
whatever.
trouble, but you were able to find some work.
Well, I just did like community theater. I did whatever I could do.
That's amazing.
And so that was actually an okay time, and also like I had some money stockpiled because I was lucky because like these men kind of they
like
saw
from the Craigslist guys.
What?
I was like from the Craigslist guys.
Yeah, they were very nice. They were like, and they really liked me for some reason. So I had like 2 or 3 different guys who very much wanted to be my rescue.
That's a
like
thing.
They were Richard Gere.
Yeah, I mean that's a very strong personality type that shows up in relationships and in situations like that.
Yeah, he wanted to rescue me.
You're like, I'm here to be rescued with your wallet. Save me.
But yeah, I didn't really. But like, I mean, so that was interesting.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but luckily, my grandmother filed for her. Okay, so if she was a citizen, she could petition me in faster, but she failed her citizenship test like while I was in like in my teen years.
Oh no.
And she didn't speak any English, so you know how she practiced for the test was she phonetically memorized the questions.
Oh
so
no. But
I
she
would
has
be
no idea
like,
what they say.
who's the first president? And she would literally go, George Washington. But she had no idea what that meant.
No, she's just like memorizing the sounds, basically.
Right. And then she failed because they asked her to raise her right hand, and she didn't know what they were saying, and so they sent her back.
Oh no, Grandma, Ajima, come back.
Oh. But like she petitioned for me like 10 years before, so I got my green card when I was 20.
Woo-hoo!
So that worked out.
Did that feel? I mean, that must have felt like a game changer.
Yeah, I was like legitimately allowed to be here. I could get jobs. I got a job at Starbucks to start.
Yeah.
And then I started doing productions of Miss Saigon over and over and over and over.
Typecasting is a bitch.
Yeah. I mean, seriously.
Like, anywhere it's playing, I'll go there.
that's literally what happened.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Have you ever played a part in a musical that wasn't traditionally written for an Asian person?
Yes, I actually get those a good deal because like on like the regional level, sometimes like they want to feel like they're doing something edgy, so they'll go non-traditional, right?
They're like, look how progressive and cool and different our thing is.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, you could see outside the box a fucking little bit. Like,
This was in 06 though, so at that time it was like radical.
yeah, where now I feel like people probably look at Hamilton and go, look at that cast. And that you wouldn't have thought that those, you know, people they're portraying would have been cast so diversely. Why can't we do that with anything, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's
Back
like,
then,
exciting well, in theory, exciting for theater workers, but in reality, where's theater, you know?
Yeah. So, you know, so I did do okay. I did okay in theater.
Yeah.
You know.
So,
But the empowerment thing really helped me a lot.
I mean, that's amazing. Did you even ever imagine that, like, when you're taking that first, you know, empowerment seminar that your friends like, I'm going to pay for you, I want you to go, in your like wildest dreams, were you like, someday I'm going to use what I know to help other people feel better?
No, never.
You were just
And I
like,
never had depended on any of this because like I became obsessed with like success and empowerment, and I started like studying people like really, because I was like, okay, well, according to them, right, the
Yeah.
formula is, you know, being empowered. So like, why don't I just study empowered people and successful people and kind of model their behavior and then
wow.
myself? And so I was always studying something along those lines.
Just
Always.
like diving into the names in that community, or just like the 7
Yeah.
habits of highly effective people, and like all the
Totally. All of that,
Wow.
like really intensely, and only for the purpose of like, because I wanted to be successful.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't even telling people, like, so like, I didn't tell anyone that I was doing this because I didn't want people to think I was a weirdo also.
Well, yeah,
'cause,
because
like,
you see, there's a certain number of self-help books on someone's bookcase that they can have before someone goes, okay,
yeah.
you are clawing for help here. And
Yeah.
I have more than that amount of, I mean, the amount of inspirational and just totally different ends of the spectrum where, because I'm always trying to just, I don't know, I like to get different perspectives and see how people think about things. Because I mean, you know, I'm sure you know this, but it's like you just kind of can take nuggets that make sense to you and apply it to your life. And
Yeah.
for me, studying things that are like, I've hit a place where I feel like I would like to learn more and maybe help other people with things I learn. But my learning came from, I want to fix myself. I would just want to feel okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You're like, I
And
want.
that's the thing, right? Like, so the art of being yay actually came out of because I studied the empowerment and like neuro-linguistic programming, all of that,
Yes.
for a tangible result for 13 years. As I mean, like, I would want to make money, and then I knew how to do that, or enroll people into helping me execute X, Y, and Z. I knew how to do that. Talk to
Yeah.
people, produce shows, get like how to perform on stage. NLP helps with that. Like everything.
Wow.
Kind of, it's great. It's a really powerful tool.
When did you start NLP, reading about it and learning about it?
When I was 26, I took a NLP workshop, and that really was a huge shift for me.
Yeah, like you were very into. So for people who are unfamiliar, I know a little bit, and I'm like just barely dipping my toe into, like, I'm taking a course, but I'm like at the beginning. Neuro-linguistic programming. Can you like describe a little like what that means and how it works?
So neuro-linguistic programming, the way I kind of like to use it or whatever is the idea that like everybody has a map of the world. Everybody has a point of view on what the world is. And that map of the world is determined by the language that you tell yourself, or the language that the person uses also gives away their map of the world.
Wow.
So if you listen closely, you can pick out what people's map of the world is pretty quickly, and kind of work around that.
Like, how do you view the world? Are you using, so it's like, are you looking through rose-colored glasses or shit-colored lenses, basically?
Yeah. And what's your perspective on this or that, and like also examining your model of the world and questioning it, like, is that an actually correct assumption that I'm making, or is it something that I've created?
Yeah, is it like something you just internalized a long time ago that like was a decided belief and you never took time to question it?
Yeah.
And
people actually live their life as if those things are true. So that's their map of the world. And you don't want to disturb people's map of the world, because they will either turn it around on you, or if they're not ready to, they won't. Like, if they ask you to look into their map of the world and say it to them, then that's one thing. But if you go in and you like challenge their map of the world, they will get defensive against you, or they will kind of have a internal turmoil.
Yeah, because this thing that they believe so hard to be true is now being reflected back as like, that's wrong. And it's very easy to see how that causes at least internal conflict of like, no, this is my reality. It always has been. How can you?
And they hang on to that, like,
cling.
People, cling. Like, there's people who are like, oh, the world is hopeless, so you may as well not try. That is their perspective, and that has to be their truth. And in order to preserve that truth, you have to not make it. And so they will try to dissuade you from making it by presenting, because they have a personal stake in you not making it, to preserve their model of the world that on some level they know is just a perception. So people function like that. So you got to figure it out, because
I totally understand. The people cling to so many different parts of their identity as like, this is a firm reality, which I think is a big cause of a lot of the conflict in the world, of people on two different sides of a coin refusing to even
fake news.
Like, I mean, it's like people don't even want to see where someone else could come from on a perspective that it's. I mean, I say all the time, but I'm, the amount of liberal friends I have who are extremely wealthy, and I don't think can see the viewpoint of how, like, that they just that anyone could be Republican means they're racist. And it's like that you can't see that there are people who a couple $100 more in taxes back to them is a huge difference. It's like, I understand the dangers of the fucking shit we're dealing with right now, but it's like I think it's so hard for people to meet someone where they're at, to have a discussion, and there's no progress to be made with two people who cannot see each other.
But you can, this is another NLP thing. Like, if you can create a rapport and a feeling of safety, then they will listen and they will accept new ideas.
Yes.
But you won't get anywhere if you just go, unfriend me now. If you you're not going to get anywhere with Facebook bites. It's just not going to happen.
No.
They have to feel like.
Yeah, it has to be inviting. It has to be comfortable enough that they're willing to open up and have these discussions, which is hard. And I think, there's our egos do a thing where they try to it's like the ego's trying to keep itself intact by being like, you're right, don't listen to anyone, everything you do is correct. That's, if they say this is wrong, they're wrong. And it's crazy. But to your point of like someone viewing the world, for instance, as like hopeless, it's a lost cause. If someone can go, I feel like it's hopeless, but I would like to not feel that way.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah.
What is it like? Is a big part of NLP like a repetition of things? Like, is that where like do affirmations and stuff like that play into neurolinguistic?
I don't like affirmations all that much. Because usually when you're, okay, like if you're kind of within the space of where you're trying to get to, like, so for example, if you're like if you're a little shaky on money and you want to strengthen that, then you could say, oh, I'm wealthy, and then you might get there, you know?
Yeah.
But if you're feeling like, oh, it's hopeless, and you want to feel like a winner, and then you take a bunch of postcards that say, I'm a winner, and then you staple it on your head, it's not going to do anything.
Yeah,
You're
feel
just
like a
gonna feel like,
jackass.
yeah, a bloody hopeless person.
Yeah.
You know, just, oh. So, you know, I think it's really important to accept where you are,
Yeah.
but also because it's hopeless is, okay, just really like this. Okay, so this jar right here is red, right? So that's
Yes.
red. This painting's green or whatever the color. It's
Yeah.
let's say it's green or whatever.
I know, like, it's blue. We get in a fight about
Fuck you!
it.
So, like, we can all agree that there are certain things that are objectively true,
Yes.
right? Yeah. So the hopeless, say I'm hopeless, that's a subjective truth. It's not an object. It's a subjective truth that is an opinion, right?
Yes.
So, but it doesn't mean that it's not your truth, you know?
Yeah, like if you believe it, it's true to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also a way in which you can soften that belief a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So everything's hopeless is a subjective truth that you might be holding, right? But what about, like, I felt like some people have made it seems difficult, but some people have made it work.
Yes. So just
And
that little bit of an
yeah.
outlook.
Just like a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And that statement right there is irrefutable. Like, it's not something that can be argued against,
people
really.
have objectively made it work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people are
Like,
doing well.
when I got HIV, actually, I talk about this in the book. I thought I was just going to die alone. I thought I was like, I'm dying alone. I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. And that's it. That's what I was most afraid of, right?
Yeah.
And then
So
I went
sad.
to a therapy session provided by the people who tested me positive. And I went off and I was like, I think I'm going to die alone. And he said something so interesting. He was like, that could be true, Aidan. You could die alone. But also, there are some people who have great lives with HIV, like, and actually, like, they wouldn't mind telling you this. Those two guys down the hall who work here, actually, that guy just got married, and that guy, has a car, and we came here together, and they're very happy, and they're HIV positive also. So some people can make it work with
Yeah,
those
then
brands.
it's like, this is not an objective end of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever evidence you want to look for, there's a part of your brain called reticular activating system that generalizes, distorts, and deletes any information that it deems not a match to the belief that you already hold.
Wow. So it
yeah.
just is like, won't even, like, we don't need to see that.
Yeah.
It like hones in on the stuff that validates what you already believe.
Yeah, or makes you wrong for presenting an alternate. Like, you don't know what you're talking about,
Wow.
So
wow.
then it's like, okay, if that's the case, then you better be damn careful about which beliefs you choose to hold.
Yeah.
And because it's subjective, we got to pick a new criteria for what beliefs you're going to choose. Like, okay, yeah, maybe it is like really hard to make it as a person who came from poverty, maybe, right? That could be true. But it's also true there are people who have made it with poverty, despite their poverty.
Yeah,
right?
they've gotten out of their situation.
Yeah.
Above it.
So you can hold either one.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah.
So the criteria is which one's going to give you the most flexibility and most empowerment to move you forward. That's the criteria. Not
absolutely.
What seems true or what does the mass believe, because it doesn't matter, because you'll filter it out anyway. So if 90% of the people believe that being poor means, you're helpless, right?
Yeah.
If you are active and you go, okay, I'm going to choose to think, okay, like there's a lot of people a lot of people who have succeeded with even though they came from poverty.
Yeah.
If you hold that and then you evidence that to the point where that becomes your truth, the 90% of these people, they bounce off from the
They
reticular.
fade away. It no longer becomes,
Yeah.
I cannot get out of poverty. You go, look at these people, look at this evidence. It can be done.
Yeah. And so you start looking there, and then it does happen because your brain lines you up with the evidence of this.
Of rising above it, of like, and you start seeing the ways that happens, which means you start going in the direction of getting out of that situation versus, you know, if you think everyone's out to get you, you're only going to see negative everything.
Yeah. And it's not about what's right. It's not about what feels accurate. Accuracy is overrated. It's all subjective anyway, so let's just get over that. So like accuracy is just, I don't like accuracy. You don't pick a subjective opinion to hold as your personal truth because it is accurate. You want to, because it can't be accurate.
Yeah,
it's not accurate.
Well, I think that's a huge step is, and I don't know how you feel, but like letting go of so much of your identity needing to be right, like that this is the absolute correct thing, is that like how I live is what works for some people, it works for me. Maybe I could do it differently. Maybe that's not a fit for everyone. I think that's a step maybe in that direction.
I mean, no, you're right, because objectively speaking, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
So we could be holograms. I don't know.
I know. I do know. We are. No, that's like the whole premise of this podcast is just like, I don't know shit. Tell me about your experience. You know what I mean? We
don't know anything. I could say all this now, but, you know, I could, you know, die and be like, you know, they could be like, oh, everything you were saying while you were on Earth is wrong. Like, how? I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Can you imagine? They're like, by the way, that book, it was wrong, and it's really wrong. But you got out, so
we highlighted all the areas for you.
We're gonna send you back. Read it. So with the book being about, I guess, this like art of being are there actionable things, or is it just sort of this idealistic, like, do you have to work toward this feeling of yay if you want it?
Yes, you do. You can't. So with NLP being used for tangible things, right?
Yes.
When my boyfriend died a couple of years ago, Michael, did you meet him?
I think I met him once, and it was like you and I were on a show together somewhere in some weird.
Oh my God, was it Cindy's show at that
that weird like restaurant or the back
Yes, that's
room?
right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I didn't see you for so long.
Yeah.
But like it was this like very in and out, and I think I was running to another, you know, workaholic, running to another spot or whatever. But
yeah.
Like, it's nice to meet you, very funny. Like, so very briefly.
Yeah.
But I didn't really get to know him.
I actually met you at your show. I think that's where like we officially.
Oh yeah.
Someone brought me to your show. Who brought me to your show? Leanne? Was it Leanne?
Maybe Leanne took her, or do you know Samantha Hale? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, and I was like, oh my God, I know you. You're so funny. Like I was just like, oh, dude, it's the guy that was really funny at that weird restaurant show. Like, that was like such a weird.
And your show was so good. It was like.
It was what a lineup. It was super fun.
Yeah, man.
It was like, I think it was and I get that just happens. LA is such a big comedy scene, or I guess it was when comedy was alive, where like I would come across the most random assortment of people in a lineup that I like never see. Like there's people I'll see all the time, and then there's people I don't see for months.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, we've both been here. We just have been on different shows, and
and it's pretty like comedy in LA is pretty divided by clubs. I think I feel like.
Yeah, and I don't like that. Like even being in at some of the clubs, it bothers me, which is something I've just had to work on letting go of. No. It bothers me to think that there's like any outside perception that I think I'm part of this clique or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I mean, the Comedy Store, I think, is my home club. I love that they give me spots and they're very good to me there. But I don't like this idea that anyone would be like, think that I'm sitting here going, well, I'm a Comedy Store comic. So.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, I just want to do shows. I'll go up anywhere. I just
Yeah.
like making people laugh, and I want to meet everybody.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah.
like, there's a perception that I'm a factory comic, Laugh Factory comic.
Yeah, and it's like, you're like, no, I have a show
just-
there. Like,
Yeah, I just, like, they're nice to me.
you're like, I go where I'm celebrated, and I go anywhere that will give me a spot, frankly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It does
so
feel
when he-
sometimes.
Sorry, what?
Oh, I'm just agreeing. It does feel sometimes divided or
Yeah.
cliquey, or that people stick to their one little area and they don't get outside their comfort zone, which sucks.
And it's hard because, okay, like, at the Laugh Factory, I go, right? And then
Yeah.
there's, like, you know, like, servers and hosts, and they're all like, Aidan, welcome. Here's a 20-minute set and
Yeah.
audience. And I go to the Comedy Store, and it's like, who are you, like, you get
Put your
treated
name on the
badly, and then
list
you
and
get put
maybe
on
you
a, like, 2 minutes in front of
No.
nobody as, like, a test. And it's just like, I don't know, like, it kind of made me feel like, I don't know, I don't want to go through all that at this
Well,
point.
and it's like, especially if you have places that embrace you, you're like, well, okay, I could like suffer through this sort of jumping through the hoops here, or I could just go, you know, I get plenty of stage time other places. I'm fine. Where it's like, I love the Comedy Store. I did all the, you know, jumping through the hoops and going up in the OR when there's nobody fucking there. But like, at no point did I, like, it's not a means to it. It's not like, if you don't do this, you can't be a comedian. And I have always been like, yeah, I get why people, especially people who are working comedians who are getting up different places, would be like, I'm not going to go try to get 3 minutes on a stage for a club that doesn't know me when I could just get booked.
No,
do
I mean,
my-
I
run my own
tried.
show.
I tried.
Yeah.
Like, I tried for a good month. I mean,
But it's like,
that wasn't really trying.
well, yeah, but people get in their comfort zones, whichever, you know, whoever's giving them love or whatever. And then I think at the beginning, comedy was uncomfortable for all of us. But when you find kind of your group and you feel embraced, it's easy to lean more toward that than to go back out into the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, yeah.
And now
So,
it's all dead.
It's all dead, so it doesn't matter. Everything blew up.
Yeah. I mean, my God. Okay, so
So then
sorry.
the Yay thing, I want to answer your question.
Yeah.
So when Michael died, I was in like, I was
yeah.
in such a terrible spot. So much so that it was like this. It was like, okay, Aidan, you either learn to feel better or you're gonna kill yourself. Like, this is it. Like,
mean,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna be feeling like this. This is just not gonna happen. So figure out how to feel better than this, or we may as well not be here because this is not gonna happen. Like, I was like,
I'm not, whatever this is, I'm not living like this.
I'm not living like this. This is not, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do this. And so then I was like, okay, well, then I guess I try to find ways to be happier, right? And at first, my first tactic was, of course, to try to control the situation around me, which is the first prescribed. If anybody has any problem, the first prescription is to go, what's going on in your world that's causing you a problem? Let's fix that.
Yeah, what can I control? Is there something I can fix that will make me feel better? Yeah.
Yeah. So pouring myself into that from a place where I was in extreme amounts of pain caused me a lot more hurt.
Yeah.
It was I'm glad I went through it because now I know that doesn't work. But the more pain you're in, the more desperate you are to get out.
Yeah.
And so you end up taking desperate measures to try to control the world in a world that really cannot be controlled.
Yeah.
You can't control it. And
Yeah,
so
you're, like, grasping for something that you can never really get a hold of.
you can never get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so after that failed and I was at a really low point, then I started thinking about, okay, like, all I really want is to feel better. So what if I just, instead of trying to fix this, what if I go for just the emotional relief? Can I just make that the goal? Okay, let's use whatever I learned, everything I learned, for the goal of emotional results rather than tangible. Let's try that we have nothing to lose. Let's figure out as much as we can about how to be happy and go for that directly instead of needing this middleman to change.
Yeah, like instead of trying to get a tangible thing to give you happiness, you're like, all right, let's just make happiness the goal. Like, the feeling is the
The feeling is the goal, because when you're that's desperate, it's like, the feeling of the goal. Yeah. And when I did that, that's when like my life I was like, wow, okay, and that is the way to go. Because everything that I wanted, that I thought would be a way for me to get there, came after I got there.
Yeah, so it was like you were doing it backwards that whole time. You're like, I need to get to feeling okay, and then the things will come in as they're supposed to. Like,
right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I was like, wow. I was not, all of that was like a pleasant surprise, because all I wanted was just to not feel like I wanted to kill myself every day. That's all I want.
I just want to have a feeling of like, I'm okay. I'm okay. Which like seems, when you're feeling great, I'm okay doesn't seem like a very high bar. But when you are feeling like, I don't want to be alive, I'm okay is like, it's like a reach. You gotta really work for it.
And it is tangible. Like, it is like, there's so little that we actually understand about emotions, especially in this society. I feel like they tell you to, like, Michael dies, and a week later I get phone calls. I mean, I love my friends, but I get phone calls like, hey, why don't we go to the movies and we'll just have a good time, okay? That's great, thank you, but my partner just died. And so essentially I was getting kind of like a underlying message of, okay, whatever sadness you're experiencing is something to be eradicated or ignored, or like we need to look another way, or
yes, which is such a reflection of our society, that like that negative emotions, as far as things that don't feel good, are perceived as wrong. That like, I mean, how many mental health crises are really a mental health crises versus it's like, no, actually, you are just sad, and you should be sad. It's very sad right now. Where it's like, of course, there's obviously very real, mental health on this computer.
Oh yeah, take your time. Good.
I think I'm good whenever you're ready. But if you need,
good. Okay. All right.
Yeah. To go back to what I was saying, that that we're kind of taught that feeling sad or feeling angry is wrong.
Yeah.
Like that we go, oh my God, that person's so sad still. There must be something wrong with them. Versus it's like, yeah, never mind this guy who's eternally happy, whose wife is probably chopped up in a freezer somewhere. Like, he's fine because he's just got a smile on his face. Yeah, I think we do. Yeah. We absorb that as like, oh, there's, like it's not already hard enough that you're grieving the loss of like your person, which I can't even imagine. That's so hard. And then to go, oh, and now I'm just, bumming my friends out, and why, and then like shaming yourself for still being sad after a week, especially, that it's like,
well, it's so ingrained in our culture that it was just my attitude. So like, I felt sad, and I was like, literally, I was just, get over it. Like, I mean, like, I was so just
like hard on yourself.
Yeah, I was like, like I felt like there was something wrong with me for feeling sad, even though I had every reason to. It's so ingrained in our culture to not be okay with any negative emotion. Yeah.
That you then go, what's wrong with me, instead of, there's nothing wrong with me. It sucks that I'm sad, but it's going to be sad for a little while. And like, that's okay.
Yeah. And so it's just like a shame thing. Like, I think shame is the great negative emotion multiplier. So, not only are you suffering, you're going to suffer alone, and you're going to feel like there's something broken with you in a corner by yourself. It's just
because God forbid you let anyone know you're suffering, then they'll be like, what, why, what's wrong with you? Yeah. And then we internalize that, we go, what's wrong with their best
intent, they might be like, look, okay, let's go get some candy. And then you feel like they're trying their darndest, but in this culture, it's like, again, like, let's get another coping mechanism in, so that can fix something that's broken here. It's like,
yeah, instead of just letting it heal, it's like, why don't we'll just drink and then you'll feel a little bit less, maybe?
yeah, I did that too. I did a lot of drugs.
Yeah, I mean,
It was gnarly.
it's hard when you're clawing to feel okay,
Mhm.
and then dealing with, just the shame on top of the initial feelings. Of course.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, without I don't want to give any like too much away, because I obviously everyone needs to go get your book. But as far as kind of actionable steps that you took, or that you recommend, are there like daily type of activities or like things that people should insert into their life as far as getting to like being yay?
I think the one thing that made a really big difference for me is how I dealt with negative emotions. So there was this concept that we ultimately want what we want, actually, because we think we'll feel better at the other end.
Yeah.
And that's very true, right? Like, even my techniques to try to improve my life were, the intended result was so I can feel better,
Yeah.
People who want to make it in their careers might want a sense of significance, so they fight really hard because their sense of significance is on the line. So that's kind of, so a result without emotion is really nothing,
Wow. Yeah.
And so that got me thinking. I was like, okay, well, whenever I missed Michael, I actually stopped and got clinical. I was like, I miss Michael. Okay, well, if Michael were here right now, what emotion would I be feeling? What would he be providing me by his presence being here that I don't have now, that I'm longing for?
Wow.
And it turns out it's like different in every case. Sometimes it's just like, I just want that security and comfort and just like soothing.
Yeah.
Great. The reality is we haven't invented a way to bring Michael back from the dead.
Boo, technology.
Right? But I could try. What is it that I could do at this moment to give myself soothing comfort?
Wow. So going like, okay, what is it really that I would be wanting from the interaction with this person I miss? And then going, okay, what are some steps I can take to get to that feeling? That person's not an option. What else soothes me? What else brings me comfort?
Yeah. So then when you do that, it's like, and it's different in every case. Like, different things will come to you.
Oh yeah, I'm picturing myself in a buried in ice cream going, I'm cured.
Unless you have an eating disorder, right?
Which I probably do, but that's neither here nor there. That's another episode.
But it actually works. It works consistently for so many different scenarios. Any scenario in which you're experiencing a negative emotion as a result of a trigger that is mental, because there's other factors, right? So your emotions, when you eat something that your body doesn't agree with, the first line of defense that your body will present you is you will feel a heaviness in your heart, or like you will not feel good.
Yeah.
There's something there. So when you don't feel good, then sometimes, if you're not aware of that, our brains are designed to find a reason and a meaning for why something is off. So then they'll attach a completely unrelated meaning, and now you have a meaning that you have to deal with.
Yeah, when your body was really just trying to be like, dairy's not really good for us. You're like,
right.
This is because nobody wanted me on the kickball team in 3rd grade.
And then it perpetuates. So there's also, the other thing I learned was like a thought emotional momentum. So when you have an emotion and your thought is designed to create a meaning or whatever, so it attaches a meaning of the similar tone. So you feel bad because you ate dairy, and then you feel like, but you don't know that. You just feel bad. So you go, oh boy, what a loser I am. I remember when, whatever. And then that triggers another emotion that compounds that, which triggers another thought of the same tone, which triggers another emotion. And that is how thought cycles kind of like go until you either go to sleep or you drink. You have to do
try
a
to
pattern.
shut it off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you have to be aware of that. And so you got to be careful about like when because thoughts are going to go all day.